Good morning and welcome to this week's IGTV. Today I'm talking about, are you lying to me? Like, when I ask you something, are you lying to me? When you ask your teenager a question or just when they're talking to you and you have this constant nagging, are you lying to me? Like, how do I know if you're telling me the truth? And this continues to undermine your relationship because perhaps they already have lied to you and you know that they've lied to you and you're like, well, now what do I do? And how am I ever going to believe you? I want to talk about that a little bit today. It is extremely, extremely heartbreaking as a parent to know that your teenager might lie to you or is lying to you. But I want to unfold it a little bit more so it makes some sense and give you some steps to kind of help unfold it and walk through it. My name is Allie Payne. I am a certified life coach, certified relationship systems coach. I'm one of 70 people in Canada to hold both designations. I have been helping parents of teens for the last 16 years to end the painful disconnection, emotional blow-up, stressful silences, and build relationships on trust and respect. So what do you do when your teen is lying? Now, I deal with this with parents all day, every day. So first of all, there's a couple situations. There's the first situations where perhaps you were not trusted as a teen, okay? Or you had a lot of significant trauma where you did not feel trusting of other people, okay? So perhaps you're approaching your teen in a way that's like, well, how do I know? How do I know if you're lying to me? Are you telling me the truth? How do I know? Maybe you don't know if they've ever lied before, okay? But you're just approaching them with that mentality. I am sorry for you if you have a significant situation where you didn't feel like you were told the truth or you could trust other people. That was never your fault. It was not your fault. And I'm sorry that was your experience because it is very painful. It is not your teenager's fault or responsibility to caretake you in a way where you are not always asking, are you lying to me? Are you lying to me? That fear, that constant questioning of whether or not they're lying to you, that is your responsibility. That is your journey and your healing. It is totally normal, okay? And okay to question in your mind if your teen is lying to you. But I'm talking about this kind of pervasive level of fear. If they're, not telling you the truth, or how do you know? You can't ever really know, okay? You can't ever totally know. So if that's something that you need to work on, I encourage you to go and do that. The second stage would be if your teen has lied to you, which is extremely heartbreaking. It really is. It's like taking a knife just like right through your heart, okay? Your teen has lied to you. And by the way, when teens were surveyed a couple of years ago in the United States, 96% of teens said they lied to their parents at least once. And the other 4% probably lied about not lying. So all teenagers lie at some point, okay? So I need you to get over the fact that your teenager would never do that to you and you've raised them right and that's not the value. Can we just move on? Like move over that little high horse there? All teenagers lie at some point about something, okay? It isn't a reflection of who you are or aren't. And we need to let that go too. It's not a reflection of you, okay? This is about your relationship. That's what I'm here to talk about, is your relationship. Now, the teen brain is highly emotionally reactive. They are almost always in a state of fight or flight, mild state of fight or flight. They live in fear. This is a natural and normal part of the physiological brain development, is that they live in fear of judgment or criticism and will do almost anything to avoid it. Almost anything to avoid judgment or criticism. Which means lying, right? Now, you might be like, but I don't freak out. I didn't lie. Okay, I got it. I don't know what you might have done if they did lie to you. I don't know. Maybe you did freak out, and bless you. That's fine too, okay? We're all human, okay? And it is hurtful. So when you find out your teen lied to you, yeah, you probably got really hurt and probably set a consequence. Okay, I'm behind you. What I'm trying to help you understand is why they lie. So they lie to avoid judgment and criticism. They also lie because they are terrified of losing your love. Like from a primal perspective, if they lose your love and approval, they are extricated from the family, nowhere to live, like kicked out. Like that, I know that's an extreme example, but their primal brain is, I must remain safe and loved by this caretaker person, or I am out on my own, okay? So, are they lying to avoid judgment and criticism? Yes. Are they lying to avoid punishment or consequence because they just want to get away with it? Sometimes, yes. If you are approaching your teen from the perspective of suspicion, are you lying to me? That will trigger their fight or flight, and they will go into protective mode. Oh, I'm glad you're finding this helpful. Awesome. They will go into protective mode and they will lie. Even if you're standing right in front of them and saying, are you lying to me? They will lie. Because their fight or flight response is guards up, shields up, shields up, because it isn't safe to tell you the truth. And then I have parents tell me like, well, no, like I didn't freak out. I just said like, look, if you're lying, I need to know if you're lying. Okay, as soon as you use the word lying, they're not telling you the truth because they're in protective mode again. If you use the word trust, I don't trust you. Dr. Brené Brown has proven this, is that, well, actually other researchers have too, but she has discussed it, that when you talk about I don't trust you, the moment that we as humans, we hear that, we go straight into fight or flight. Our limbic brain, our emotional brain hijacks the whole thing and we're not hearing anything you say because trust is so integral to who we are as a person. Trust is so integral to our character that when we hear the sentence, I don't trust you, we go to shields up again, shields up, this is unsafe, run, do what you need to do, get away. Okay, so what are you supposed to say then? So that's it, Allie, I'm just supposed to let them lie to me. No, that's not what I said. So the underlying basis of, a lie is intended to cover, oops, sorry, I hit my light there. A lie is intended to cover a particular point of vulnerability, okay? There's something super vulnerable if I know that I did that wasn't, appropriate or was against your values or beliefs. So I lie because I don't want to be vulnerable. I lie because I don't feel safe to be vulnerable or honest with you. Now, that might be because maybe one time you freaked out, and bless you if you did, you're normal. It might be because the last time they lied to you, and there's been multiple times, and now they're really struggling with knowing whether they lie or not. That's also really hurtful and hard, okay? Having done this and been the teen that lied, I lied to my parents every day. I lied all the time. I lied because my experience was they were reactive and not responsive. They were reactive. They would react way unreasonably, over the top, and that they were not open to conversations where we could create understanding of each other's positions and values, and then like maybe find a middle ground. It was absolute authority, which was very much parenting of the day. And they were not open to any conversations, to hearing what I thought and how I came to those decisions. So I lied instead, just to save myself the whole gamut of that. I lied. Emotional safety, which is not something that you and I were usually raised under, because parenting was different generations ago. The parenting model of authoritarian parenting, which is very much based on a high accountability for a behavior, but there is very little room or tolerance for emotions. It's an old model. It's a broken model. It doesn't work, because we can prove that as a human being, you actually have a lot of emotions. And better yet, science can prove that emotions are in fact the source of all behavior. So if you're trying to parent purely from behavior, but ignoring emotions, you see how that doesn't work? So emotional safety, if you were raised in that environment, emotional safety may feel very foreign for you. You might not even know what it is. That's okay too. Emotional safety is that I feel safe in my brokenness, my hot mess, my snot, my anger, my frayed nerves, my over-the-top joy, all of it. I feel safe to bring it to you, and I don't feel judged, corrected. You're not going to try and fix me if I'm super sad. I don't feel fixed. I don't have to have a reason. I don't have to explain why I feel the way I feel, because I don't know. You are just going to be like, okay, all right, a lot going on. I'm going to get a cup of tea. There's a lot going on here. And so tell me about it. And I might go on and whatever, or maybe I come to you and I'm like, I did something terrible. I did something and this is what you're not going to do. Oh my gosh, what was it? Are you okay? Does someone need to get fixed? Who's hurt? What do we need to do? Because that's fixing. It's back to fixing, right? You're like, okay. Sounds big. Sounds hard. I'm just going to listen when you're ready. That's emotional safety. Emotional safety is, I know that your emotions are yours. I don't need to do anything about them per se, but when I make space for them without any making up stories about what it says about me as a parent, or making up stories that you must not be telling me this because of this. It's all blah. It's not safe. If your teenager doesn't feel emotionally safe, they will likely lie to you. And even then, teenagers lie. Again, the physiology of their brain, they are wired for novelty and risk-taking behaviors. They are actually supposed to do stupid shit. There, I said it. They are supposed to do stupid things. And in doing so, they are refining their executive function, their learning processes, their values, their beliefs, risk analysis, critical decision making. They're forming all of those things. They're supposed to make dumb choices. You can look it up. Prove it. The risks are higher as a teen, but your child did it too. Your toddler did it too. Risk taking, pushing beyond their boundaries is how we learn. But as a teen, when there's this whole world available to them, they might be risk taking or trying new things that are, they know, outside of what you believe, what you stand for, and what you would tolerate, and so they lie. I'm not saying we just let all the lying go. I really need you to understand why they lie, okay? So if you've been reactive in the past, you might want to say to them to just begin building emotional safety. You might want to say, you know what? I realized that this last incident, this particular thing, I was really reactive, and that probably wasn't really healthy or helpful in our relationship. And to build, the emotional safety for you to keep telling me things. And so I've decided I'm going to do things differently and be better at remaining calm and less judgmental or reactive when you share things with me. So you could just come out and tell them that. That helps build emotional safety. So they lie less, okay? Allowing them to have conversations about taboo topics means that they will lie less. Why? Because they are bringing their curiosity to you, and you are willing to not TED Talk, not lecture. You are willing to be curious with their thought process. Let's say going drinking and doing drugs one night. I don't know. Let's just say that. Oh, okay. So tell me about that. That's all you say? Just tell me about that. Well, yeah, so-and-so has an older brother, we can get, and they have a house and it's safe, so we can go drinking. Okay. So what do you think would happen? What do you want to happen? What would be the best case scenario? We go have some drinks, whatever, and come home and it's fine. It's fine. Okay. What might be some of the risks? What if one of your friends has too much to drink, it gets blackout drunk? What would you do? What if the people there, what if one person now invites somebody else and they bring cocaine, and now your friends are doing lines or something? What would you do? When you allow your teen to bring taboo topics to you and you remain open and curious about their thinking in them, sex, drinking, drugs, religion, money, all the hard shit, they're less likely to lie to you. Not because you're being permissive. Excuse me. Not because you're being permissive. Because you have shown that you are safe to talk about things. So they're going to be more likely to talk to you about it, even if they did something dumb. So these meaningful conversations where it is a safe place for your teen to bring scary stuff and banter back and forth with you, where all you do is be a sounding board and be curious about helping their executive function develop, and you do not go in to lecturing or TED talking about your values and your beliefs, because you cannot discipline your values into anybody. You help their brain. This is not about being permissive. I know it feels vulnerable because it questions absolute authority. What science has proven is that those conversations where it's okay for your teen to disagree with you and banter stuff back and forth while you share your concerns briefly, no lectures, brief, while you share perhaps some of your stumbles as a teen and what you did that was dumb in that situation and what you wish you'd done or what you thought was going to happen and what didn't, whatever, builds trust. They trust you that they can come talk to you because you didn't freak out, and you let them kind of process it. It builds respect because they respect you and they see you as a human who also made dumb mistakes but is now successful and will make it. It builds respect because they feel respected by you because you listened to them. You allowed them to process, to come to their own answer, which, by the way, is usually a pretty healthy answer because you're raising a good kid. I already know that. But when they're not allowed to come to their own answers and process, which is called self-efficacy, okay? Self-efficacy and agency, when they're not allowed to do that, they are more likely to go be curious outside of you without talking about it first and just go do dumb stuff. And then they lie more. So being a safe place for your teenager to talk about scary stuff, being a non-reactive, being a responsive but non-reactive parent is really important to build safety. If they've lied to you in the past, this can be extremely difficult. And you say, well, how do I know? Are you lying to me? How do I know? You don't know. You don't know. And I have done videos before where I have said, relationships are like a bank account, okay? Relationships are like a bank account. You are responsible for what you are putting in to that relationship, just as your teen is responsible for what they're putting into your relationship, okay? If you are always investing, because that's what deposits are, investments, if you are always investing suspicion, you will get more lies. If you are investing reactivity, or you will get more lies. Now, I'm not saying it's your responsibility how your teenager behaves. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you are responsible for what you put in the relationship. And if you are always bringing suspicion, you're sowing suspicion. That's all I'm saying, okay? So your teenager has lied to you, and now you're not sure if you can trust them. It is fearful. It is 100%. It triggers all kinds of fear that maybe, how do you know? You don't know. And that if you address them and you say, like, hey, are you lying to me right now? That actually sounds like interrogation, and they're less likely to tell you the truth. Even if you just ask a basic question like, are you lying? Or I don't feel like I can trust you, because that triggers those two words, are you lying? And I don't feel like I can trust you. Dr. Brené Brown talks about this, like I said, in her Braving acronym. That triggers our limbic brain into fight or flight. So nobody's listening anymore. And they sure shoot are not telling you the truth at that point. So the best way is to get curious. Just get curious. Go, okay. And then choose to believe. Not because you're being passive. So let's just say, for example, your teenager brings home a backpack that has a certain smell. You know what I mean. That certain, very distinctive aroma. And it's not molding or rotting food. Nope. And you say to them, hey, I'd like to talk to you about your backpack. They're going to know right away. But you said it in a way that is not threatening. You didn't say, I found this in your backpack. Start talking. That is interrogation. It's interrogative. That is not emotionally safe. You can say to them, okay, I'd like to talk to you about your backpack. Will you maybe go through it with me? There's something that I kind of smell that I just want to talk to you about. You're kind of making it light. You're kind of making it because emotional safety. And they say to you, because they all do, it's like we were born yesterday. It's not mine, it's my friend's. I'm just keeping it for a friend. If I had $1 for every time a child or a parent told me a child, I'd be rich. And so they lie. And you're like, okay. Because remember, you're choosing to believe them because you're sowing trust. I'm choosing to believe you. Okay. Well, if you're keeping it for them, this is putting you at risk because you are underage and it is illegal to have it unless you have, a note or, like a certain amount or whatever, So, okay, that's a heck of a thing to do for a friend. That's a heck of a thing. Like, that's a pretty big deal that this is theirs, whatever. What else has your friend asked you to keep for you? Well, nothing, just this. Okay, so as a parent, it concerns me that, I'm concerned about your friend. Are they okay? Because most teens I know are using to lower anxiety, depression, deal with ADHD symptoms. Is your friend okay? Like, is there something we can do for your friend? No, they just wanted me to keep it like for a day. I'm like, okay. Again, that's pretty amazing of you as a friend. I'm not okay with having this in the house. First of all, it smells. So, no. Second of all, again, there's legal ramifications for it to being in the house. So I'm going to ask that you store it outside. And if I would really like to touch base with you again about this, because I want to make sure that your friend is okay. So that might be your first response. Do you see it? Like, you're believing them, but you're asking questions that aren't interrogation. Because if you look at them and say, are you lying to me? You're going to get a lie. 100% promise. Now, if they continue, okay, but what do you do if they continue lying? So lying, again, is a protective mechanism. It is a defensive mechanism. Lying is about staying safe. Okay, lying is also about holding a story of ourselves, a version of who we want to be that isn't necessarily true. So I lie so that I can keep this version of myself that I want to be true, but that's not true, right? Like, I'm not someone who uses weed. I don't smoke marijuana. So I keep lying about it so that you believe the version I want you to believe, but I know it's not true. You can also share times where you lied with your teen, okay? You can, I remember, I lie. You can, like, not then, not right then in the moment, because you're basically, that's very backhanded. It's like saying, well, I know you're lying to me, so here. You can also say, I know teens lie. And your growing up, your years of growing up are not my years of growing up, and they're different, and there's a lot going on for you. When you know your teen is lying and you say, tell me about this, or are you lying to me, or I don't think I can trust you, you are lowering emotional safety in the fact that they'll ever tell you the truth. Ever. And when there's been consistent habitual lying, there's always a reason. There is always a reason. And again, if you are getting the lying, the forgiveness, forgiving that person, forgiving your teenager for lying to you is absolutely really hard, because your forgiveness is not condoning, right? Like, this is constantly what we're told, like, forgive and forget. No. You don't need to forget. That'd be dumb. That's like not setting boundaries after someone hurts you. No. But forgiveness means letting go of the past, which no one can change. Nobody. And having a look at your role in the relationship and what you talk about, what you invite, these meaningful conversations and emotional safety, to help your teen know that you are a safe person, they can tell you the truth. Now, that does not mean there's no consequence. Nope, it doesn't. It doesn't mean there's no consequence. But it means that you are a safe person for them to tell first. And then you talk about, if necessary. Sometimes the conversation itself is the natural consequence because it was so awkward, hard, and horrible for your teen, okay? That you talk about the consequence has to be correlated and relative to the transgression. So restitution, how are they going to make this right? Maybe it's like, okay, well, you have till tomorrow to give this back to your friend. And if you want to talk about smoking weed or vaping, then let's talk about it. Because maybe it is your teens, and maybe they are using because they feel anxious, depressed, or overwhelmed. So you don't want to have it be as though you're shaming their friend now for using, because if it is your teens, you want them to come talk to you and say, yeah, like weed, a lot of kids are using weed because they're finding that it's helping, they think it's helping lower anxiety and symptoms of depression and everything else. And if that's ever you, it's okay to come talk to me about it. It's okay. I'm here to help if that is And then you can talk about times where you felt overwhelmed, anxious, maybe depression symptoms, and what did you do? What were the coping techniques you used? Because again, you're building emotional safety. But I can't say this enough. The "are you lying to me" or "I don't trust you" are two sentences that will guarantee you will keep getting more lies. Because the truth is very vulnerable. The truth is horribly vulnerable. And teenagers already don't like being vulnerable. And because the brain is running from any kind of judgment or criticism, then they lie. The other thing is to remember, you and your teen are never going to agree on some things. There are things where you be miles apart on. So even if you're having these hard conversations about really taboo topics, it doesn't mean you're going to agree. And you can't control your teen into agreeing. You can't consequence or punish them into agreeing. That's not how it works. But you can build understanding by having open, honest conversations. And it is far more likely your teen will come on side through those open, honest conversations because they didn't need to lie to you. It doesn't mean you don't have boundaries. You can still set boundaries, no, you're not having your boyfriend or girlfriend sleep over, or, no, we're not, that's beyond outside of my values. I'm not going to do that. Let's talk about it. What's important about that to you? What would you hope it would be like? Because remember, teens are on internet and social media and everything. They're seeing all this stuff happen all the time. They're seeing people they look up to, having sleepovers and look at this Big Brother and, all these reality shows where people are sleeping together and getting married in 2 weeks. And what do you think that they're, right? We've got to talk about it. Let's not sow suspicion into our relationships with our teens, because sowing suspicion will get more lying. You can only be responsible for your half of the relationship. You can't be responsible for them. But you can be responsible for you building emotional safety, being honest. Are you honest with your teen? Do you tell them when you screwed up in the same ways that they did sometimes? Or do you pretend that you were faultless and none of that ever happened because you're afraid they'll know? Now who's lying? If you are unwilling to share your own transgressions in an appropriate and timely way, then why would your teenager ever feel safe to share their transgressions with you? Teenagers tell me that they think one of the reasons they hate their parents is because their parent is perfect and they'd never understand. I'm like, oh my gosh, no, your parent is not perfect. You think they're perfect, but they're not. It's because you've never shared your transgressions with them. So they don't see you as human, so they don't feel safe, so they don't share. If your teenager's continuing to lie, it's extremely hard. There is more going on below the surface, and consistent consequences are not helping. It will make it worse. Having open, honest conversations that are judgment-free, no judging, is the only way to truly build the understanding of the emotions that are going on for them that are driving their behavior of whatever they're doing, including lying about it. And this is what I do in all of my programs, all of my parenting programs, is teach parents the science and the specific tools and strategies, applicable, tangible, behind creating safety. So your teenager is more likely to engage with you and they will express with you to build that lasting, healthy relationship based on trust and respect. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, my name is Allie Payne. You can always, here on Instagram, if you hit the follow, if you're on YouTube, I'd love a subscribe. You can always hit my name here on Instagram and have a look at the link in my bio. There's lots of resources and programs there, or my website, alliepayne.com. I also have a free Facebook community that is available via the link in my profile here or on my website under resources. I would love your comments. I would love for you to share your insight. And I thank you so much for being here. I want you to know that parenting is hard and you are not alone in it. Bye, everybody. Have a great weekend.